Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Anthony Kraus, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Tellurium Corp. Please note, you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I am very pleased to welcome Tyrone Docherty, President and CEO, and Michael Abdelmassa, Director of Engineering of Tellurium Corp, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol FSTTF and on the CSE under the symbol FTEL. Welcome, Tyrone and Michael.
Thank you for having us. Much appreciated. It's my pleasure to be here giving an update on our company because we have so many exceptional things going on. So allow me to go through the slide presentation. Hope everyone can read quickly. There's our forward-looking statement. And here we are unique. As we say in this slide, we are unique for a few reasons. Number one, probably most important, is that not only do we have a couple of outstanding mining projects, but we also have dipped ourselves into the technology world where we've filed a couple of patents for our new world-class thermoelectric device that Michael will be talking about later on. So it's a question of not only having two outstanding properties, but in those properties themselves, we have the nice combination of high-grade precious metals up in Canada, gold, silver, tellurium, and with tellurium being critical. And we have some other critical metals as well, but we've recently uncovered and confirmed a copper porphyry. So that's what sort of makes it unique. And then when you look at what the tellurium does, there's already demand for it in solar panels and in thermoelectric inventions. But now with having our own subsidiary, which we'll talk about later, it kind of puts us in a unique position of not being labeled just one or the other. We're both a mining company and a technical company. Let me go back there. I missed one. What's tellurium used for? Because most people don't know what it's about. So here's a simple chart to tell you right now, as we speak. Solar cells take about 40% as it sells. Thermoelectric products are 30%, metallurgy, and other clean tech properties. So again, we are the only junior that we know that is focusing on looking for tellurium. It's a critical metal. Obviously, critical metals are much in demand lately by the governments of Canada, the United States, and other governments. So, well, you have other interesting minerals such as graphite and lithium and so on. But you got 4 or 5 dozen companies in each of those. We're the only one that's been focused on tellurium, and for obvious reasons. Tellurium is considered a critical metal in Canada, the United States, Japan, Britain, Australia. So, being the only one in the game, so to speak, it gives us a huge advantage. So what are the key applications for tellurium as we speak? Okay, right now there's thermoelectric devices which have been around for a while. We will demonstrate later on while our thermoelectric device is a game changer. And when we talk about solar panels, high efficiency cadmium tellurium solar panels are what is being used by First Solar, the largest solar company in the United States. Other companies use products coming from Japan, but they're not tellurium. Right, so First Solar has been focusing on using cadmium tellurium, and they were actually nice enough to talk about us in their brochure about presentation about 10 years ago in Germany, since we're one of the only potential suppliers of tellurium down the road, according to them. And then you look at the next one, next generation lithium-ion batteries. And that's what sort of propelled us into the news a few years ago, because the University of British Columbia in Canada is working on a lithium tellurium battery, which is supposed to be much better than a lithium ion battery. So obviously everyone's looking for better batteries for whatever reason, longer lasting, don't catch fire, whatever the reasons they're looking for it. And if this lithium tellurium battery meets those demands, it could certainly have a big future for us. Tellurium's role in the solar energy, as I mentioned, it's a two-parter here. Number one, I mentioned that First Solar uses cadmium tellurium in their solar panels. And what's interesting is that with our new device that Michael will be talking about, this thermoelectric device, it's also going to be available to help other companies as well that do solar panels, not just the cadmium tellurium, but all the different ones because of the unique prospect that the thermoelectric device can help with their energy uses. So we bring ourselves to Pyro Delta, which is our subsidiary that we recently formed about a year ago with Michael, who I'll be introducing in a second. He's an engineer and an inventor, and he came up with a better mousetrap, so to speak, and we'll explain it to you, a much better thermoelectric device. And we incorporated the company called Pyro Delta. Michael is a minority shareholder. First Tellurium is a majority shareholder. And there's our slogan, Energy Beyond Sunlight. And Michael approached us because of his invention, this thermoelectric invention. It involves having 75% of tellurium. So he looked and said, well, who's got tellurium? Who can I talk to about? And he reached out to us, and we did the deal, and we're very happy that we did. And you'll see from slides down the road about the people that are taking interest in somehow trying to get involved in our thermoelectric division. So here's Pyro Delta, as I mentioned. We filed 2 patents in the United States and Canada for this wonderful thermoelectric device. Here's a picture of it. This is the one we just put out the other day on our YouTube. And having said that, I would like to introduce Michael to come on and explain to people what he likes about the thermoelectric device and what the potential applications are for. Mike.
Thanks for the introduction. First, I would like to address our partnership with First Tellurium because this partnership is a big part of our strategy. It helps us keep our supply chain resilient and reduces our environment footprint by cutting down on long-distance shipping. And it's also all about tellurium. Tellurium is a rare metal, and it's not a metal that you hear about every day, but it's crucial in our thermoelectric modules. We have partnered with First Tellurium to secure a steady supply of this critical metal. And so far, they have been a great partner, sourcing high quality raw materials for us to be able to produce our modules. So what do? We make thermoelectric modules from scratch. I mean, we cast the semiconductors, we mix the metals together, we do everything in-house. And these little powerhouses, like you see in front of your picture, so this picture in front of you represents a 100 watt hour module that can be installed in a residential setting and could utilize, let's say, the waste heat from your sink or from dishwasher or washing machine to supply enough power to keep the lights in your kitchen. So you don't even need the grid. You can just use some of this waste heat to have the light in your kitchen, which is amazing in my opinion. This is a solid state solution, doesn't require any lubrication, doesn't have any moving parts, and it will last for years. So it's a very attractive proposition. We built different sizes. We released a video about the 100 watt module, as Ty mentioned. And also we have smaller devices that can power remote sensors like cameras installed on towers, where you don't want to send somebody to change a AAA battery, for example. So our ultimate goal here is to build a 1 kilowatt hour module that can replace the alternator of internal combustion vehicles. We believe in the future of internal combustion vehicles. It's going to stay with us for a while. And anything that can improve the efficiency of internal combustion vehicles, it will be greatly appreciated. So what we're planning to do is to create this 1 kilowatt hour module that can replace the alternator in your car and utilizes the waste heat from your car engine. As many of you know, most of the internal combustion engine vehicles available in the market right now are at most 30% efficient. So for every $100 you spend at the gas pump, you're only using $30 to move you, and the rest is being wasted as heat. So we're trying to recoup some of that. If we can improve the efficiency of internal combustion engines by 6% or even more, that's a huge step forward in my opinion. So the cool thing is that we don't use solder in our process. Our modules do not have any low melting alloy, which means our modules can handle high heat without breaking down. This makes them super reliable for a bunch of different uses. Our modules are compact and efficient, making them a perfect for places where space is tight, like apartments or urban buildings. You can add them to existing solar setups, like Ty mentioned, or use them on their own. It's all about versatility for us. Now, what sets us apart, first off, we are fully in-house, which means we control every step of the process. By avoiding solder, we have designed our modules to be incredibly durable, even under extreme conditions. We're focused on making our technology accessible and scalable. It's not just for big installations, it can also fit in small settings. We've caught the eyes of some pretty cool potential customers. For example, Resolve, which is developing cameras and remote locations to monitor wildlife. Our modules can power these cameras 24/7 without the need for external source. So basically, our modules work on heat differential. So once you cover one side of the module and shield it from the weather element and expose the other side to the weather element, whether it's cold or hot, it will work. It does not need to be cleaned from snow like solar panels or anything. It's very compact. And it's other parties also are interested in our modules. Our technology could power these cameras for years without needing a battery change, like I mentioned. That's a big deal for long-term hassle-free operation. We've also had talks with cell towers contractors. They need a reliable power source for sensors way up high, so they don't need to send somebody to change batteries, like I mentioned before. Our modules can provide a long-term solution without the need of constant maintenance. There are so many applications for our technology, but we're being selective right now. We want to choose a few key pilot projects that will really show off what our products can do. What's next for us? We are currently working with the National Science Foundation, the NSF, to secure our grant. But this step means much more to us than the grant itself. It's about the verification process and the recognition and the validation we received from a prestigious scientific entity like the NSF. So that's a quick look at PyroDelta. We're excited for the potential of our thermoelectric modules to make green energy more accessible and reliable, whether it's powering your cars or your kitchen lights. Our technology has a lot to offer. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you.
Thank you, Michael. This news happened a week ago here in Canada. You see it's from CBC, and you'll see that a company that had planned to build a battery factory in Ontario, it was a $2.7 billion battery. They just stopped everything a week ago. I don't think they put shovels in the ground. So we know that there's a bit of a pushback when it comes to electric vehicles. And that's why, we're saying, while one day if the governments can get to utopia and have everyone driving an electric vehicle, which we sort of doubt, it's going to take 2 to 3 decades at least. So if in fact our thermoelectric device can help with the internal combustion engines, getting them more efficient, we think it's a nice little enterprise for the governments and or automobiles to say, well, while we're looking to chase utopia, let's use this device here to help with the efficiency while we're waiting. So it was very interesting. You see, this was only a week ago, and you'll see the quote from Unicor rechargeable batteries there. The EV demand is significantly worsening. And that's not just in Ontario, it's everywhere in North America as well. So while they're waiting to get the ideal EV and everyone driving it, we believe we have solutions that will help fill the gap, so to speak. Michael talked about our recent memorandum of understanding with Resolve Inc. And for those people that don't know this, you can check them on their website, resolve.org. They're an NGO out of Washington, D.C., who've been around almost 50 years, going around solving a lot of the world's problems, whether it's bringing fresh drinking water to those who don't have it, whether it's cleaning up mine sites, whether it's educating young women that are not allowed to be educated. They've been around a long time. They have a great Rolodex of business partners. We've been partners with them for about 6 years on another project called Salmon Gold, which we don't have time to deal with now. But basically, we work with a First Nations company and deal with placer miners in Canada and sell the gold at a premium to 2 U.S. corporations, who then the premium is put back into rehabilitating the streams and the rivers. We introduce salmon to the streams, and no one's allowed to mine again. The 2 U.S. corporations that buy the gold at a premium are Tiffany and Company and Apple. So again, it's not our main business, but because of our relationship with Resolve, you can see who they're involved with. So because of their close connections to the U.S. government, we thought, well, if everyone understands where we are on the electric vehicle plan, so to speak, that if we can introduce this thermoelectric device to them, that is maybe as a segue while everyone's waiting to get the EVs, is to be able to enhance the internal combustion engine. And then we thought, what a great way to do it. So I approached Resolve, since I mentioned we've been in business with them, and said, we may have the answer here to fill in the gap. So they talked to us, we met with Michael and had their experts go over what our invention was and so on. And we announced about 4 or 5 weeks ago that we signed an MOU with Resolve for them to put up to $29 million US over 3 years, with the ultimate goal in the third year, using about $20 million of that dollars to build a facility for us to start manufacturing these thermoelectric devices. The only thing we don't know right now is where's that factory going to be located. They'll be talking to various governors of different states to find out what other incentives they can have, but certainly we're looking at a 3-year timeline, if not sooner. So for a junior company such as myself, I've been in the junior markets for 40 years. Here's the opportunity that is presented to the people looking at potentially investing in the first Tellurium, is that you get a company that has 2 very high-grade tellurium properties. No one else is looking for tellurium, but with it, you get high-grade precious metal. So if the price of tellurium fell backwards, it really wouldn't have much effect because the gold and the silver are going to take over. And once we finalize how the size of this copper porphyry, then it becomes even less of importance as far as a financial risk to us. So it's very good indeed. And just to put things in perspective, the price of tellurium, I saw it a couple of days ago, was about $100,000 US a ton. It was a little bit over that. So it's not insignificant. But the fact that we are the only ones that have it means that people that need it, such as solar companies, that need tellurium, or if this new phenomenal battery that University of British Columbia is working on for EVs, if they need it, people can come down. But speaking of that, I want to talk about some of our partners there they're talking about. But one thing I should mention is that 2 days ago, and we didn't have a chance to get the slide into our presentation here, the government of British Columbia set aside $2 million for the University of British Columbia to develop more of their battery space up there and look at different applications. Because while they got the key going with this lithium tellurium battery, which would be superior to electric vehicle, the lithium ion, there's other potential uses for it, such as cell phones or medical equipment. So we're not just beholden to what the electric vehicle market does. Obviously, it's going to be big, but if it takes a long time to get there, obviously cell phones and electric devices are going to be people that are going to be needing it. So a lot of potential there for us. And again, the lithium tellurium is supposed to be a much superior battery. You can go check on the University of British Columbia website and find out about that. So in the last month or so, the end of April, early May, we had the chance to meet with a few very interesting companies, organizations, divisions of the government. One was the Department of Energy, and just to put in perspective for those that don't know about it, but about 2 years ago, the Department of Energy put a news release out saying that they were setting aside $3 billion, that's with a B, $3 billion for better lithium batteries. Okay, and it just so happened when I was at the conference in Washington, D.C., I happened to sit down quite unexpectedly, but besides someone that was actually from the Department of Energy, and my opening line was, have you heard about this lithium tellurium battery from the University of British Columbia that's far superior to a lithium ion battery? And she said she hadn't, so I I took the opportunity to explain it to her. And not knowing who she was, we exchanged cards and all that. And I went upstairs and looked at her card, and she was actually the head of the Department of Energy's battery division. So quite lucky for sure. And then I went to a panel discussion on the Tuesday that there was someone from an ESG company, someone from the White House, and someone from the Department of Defense. So it was interesting to find out the Department of Defense realizes that for mining companies right now, junior companies, it's tough sledding out there, getting financing. So they actually help people that they think are worthy of moving forward. Before, they used to help with preliminary economic assessments and with feasibility studies, but now they actually will help with exploration if you meet a certain criteria. So First Solar, we've had 3 meetings with the Department of Defense since the beginning of May, actually 4, including the initial one. And they've asked us to file an application to get a number to become part of the Defense Industrial Base Consortium. And the DIBC, as it said, their mandate is to help Department of Defense access commercial solutions for defense requirements and innovations for industry and academia and non-traditional contractors. So the interesting thing about that is where they're focused on batteries, because they said in their white paper a couple of years ago that there's 4 things they were working on, and one of the 4 was better batteries. So they're in sync with the Department of Energy. But also there's other potential uses, such as Michael didn't talk about the applications, but we think we can make a superior drone, as well as other potential uses for them. So we've had some very good discussions, and once we get our registration number for this consortium, then we're allowed to open up conversations to talk about how they may be able to assist us going forward. So it's a very nice situation for sure. And then, as Michael talked about, the National Science Foundation, Michael made an initial application. I've been told by a few people, normally it takes 4 to 6 months for the National Science Foundation to get back to you to say if they're interested in you proceeding to the next stage. And I guess they were so excited about the potential of the thermoelectric device, I believe they got back to us in less than 2 weeks, 10 days as it were. So I say to people that they look at a junior company and say, well, the market cap's, $10 million. Is this real or not? And I say to people, look, don't believe a word I say. The EV battery from the lithium thorium battery from UBC's online there. They could check that out. They've been doing it for 2 or 3 years now. Resolve obviously went through the potential of our thermoelectric, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. And then with the Department of Energy, lots of opportunity. They're looking for better batteries. And as I say, we've had 4 conversations now with the Department of Defense and with the National Science Foundation, sort of putting an expedited return on it. For Michael, it sort of says what these people think of our project. I don't have to say too much about it because obviously I'm biased. I'm the largest shareholder. I don't sell. But I always like to say to people, unlike a lot of CEOs of junior companies, don't believe a word I say. It's easily checked, and you can go from there. We're just very fortunate what we have. And, my last company, I took from $4 million, sold for $175 million, and took paper in the company that acquired us. And 2 years later, they sold for $4.9 billion, and our paper was about 21%. So we had an enterprise value of about $1 billion for those who held on. So this is how we build companies. We don't react to, the price of gold went up today, went down tomorrow, what's happening here. We understand that energy, clean energy, green energy is going to be going forward. I don't know exactly how that's going to happen. Are the EVs going to stick around and take off? Are they going to sort of slow down? I don't know, but there's a lot of potential for different energy devices, especially with our new thermoelectric division. Here's our 2 properties. As I mentioned, we're going to do some work here in the Deerhorn property, hopefully in September, then follow up in Colorado. And just to put things in perspective, what you're getting with us, as I mentioned, is a really good mining company and this tech opportunity. And to put things in perspective, we had a preliminary economic assessment done on the Deerhorn property, which is our most advanced, in 2018. And the independent engineers called it robust economics. And they said we had a 1.6-year payback and a 42% IRR after tax. And we did that only on 20% of our known zone. And since then, our known zone, because we're up a mountain and the snow and the ice is melting, the glaciers, that the 2.4 kilometer main zone has now been increased to 3.5 kilometers, so almost 50%. It's still open. So we feel really good about it. And to put in perspective, those really robust numbers were based on $1,300 gold, and $17 silver. So I saw gold last night on the December futures about 9:30 Eastern time, give or take a few minutes. It touched $2,500 US December contract, and the silver was about $30, 29 something. So if we were called robust in 2018 with on $1,300 gold and $17 silver, obviously we feel obviously much better where we are today than where we were back then, and we were very happy. And now you throw in the copper porphyry potential. We certainly are of a junior company that has very few, people that can compare with us. We just build stuff slowly so that we're not depending on one side or the other. And I just say to people, they say, well, how do you compare to other companies? I say, well, look, if you go find another great property and you start doing your work and sampling and assaying and drilling and getting permits, how many years before you get your PEA done and so on. And that gives us the advantage with this MOU with Resolving. They put a 3-year timeline on it. So according to them, they'd like for us to be selling our prototypes within 3 years, which means there'll be revenue for us. So where other guys are having to keep on raising funds down the road, if everything goes well, then we should be having significant revenue and be able to help us on our bottom line. Because let's face it, if they're putting up 29 million US, which is almost 40 million Canadian, the thing I left out is that is to get them 15%. 15% of our joint venture. So if they're putting up 29 million US for a 15% stake in our joint venture, what does that mean? What is that worth for us? I mean, I'm not allowed to legally say what it is, but you can do the math. So I think the revenues they're expecting are certainly not going to be $100,000 to $200,000 a year. My guess is if they're putting up that money. So we'll see what happens. So that's what gives us a great advantage, that we have 2 properties, really good, and it's better to have high grade than low grade, and now we have these 2 divisions. So if everything goes well, we have thermoelectric needs here for our own Tellurium, but with the money that we've already got in, we bought some Tellurium off the market from a great supplier up in Canada. And so some naysayers might say, well, you're not going to be in production for 5-6 years, so you're not going to be any good. No, not at all. By having this financing arranged for us, we can go buy Tellurium off the market so that we don't skip a beat. So we want to make sure that the people watching this understand that, some people say something's too good to be true. Well, it really is too good what we're doing, but the truth is there, and all you have to do is take your time to look at it. And I've been buoyed by the fact that, 2 gentlemen in the U.S. have recently, well, not recently, in the last 6 months or a year, actually taken the time to go through everything and advise their clients. And for people that don't know them, one of them is John Fennick, who's a PM. And the other one is Michael Chadwick of Chadwick Financial Advisors. I mean, they've gone through it, they've ripped it apart, and they're getting their clients to start participating in our financing here because, sometimes you don't want to look a gift horse in the eye, because this is the real deal, and we're very excited about it. There's no one else in the world doing what we're doing, and I don't know of any other juniors that have this tech advantage. So it's really is a wonderful situation that we have. Again, here's who I am. I'm Tyrone Doherty, President and CEO. There's my contact number. As I mentioned, I am the largest shareholder. My wife and I control about 13 or 14%, and we'll be in it for the long haul. And I'm not sure if it's going to be that long haul anymore, with all the people that are phoning us up that Michael can't talk about, with looking for uses for our thermoelectric device. And as I say, it's so many potential for greenhouses, for drones, as I mentioned, for a couple other applications we can't talk about because we signed the NDAs. But just to say that we are the only one in the industry, and if we weren't having 2 great mining properties, we'd be happy as heck with what we're doing on the tech side, but we've got both taken down. So we really are in a great situation. And as usual, I see my time is almost up, and I apologize for anyone that might have had some questions, but you can still send the questions to the OTC, and they'll forward it to myself, and we will get back to you. And for those that would like to see me in person, there's a conference in Fort Lauderdale, October 20th to 22nd. It's the Commodities Global Expo in Fort Lauderdale. And John Fennick is one of the gentlemen that is running the show. And he's a big supporter, so you can ask him what he thinks. But I think by him bringing his clients in, he's already sort of spoken with his pocketbook, so to speak. So I thank you all for spending the time to learn about this phenomenal company. And as I say, sometimes you fall in at the right time. This really is a situation that no one else can compete with. And I hope if you do your due diligence, I think you'll agree with me. So I'd like to thank you all for coming and send your questions. I look forward to talking to you guys again. Thank you.